I am on top of it today. Let's see. Then here, here, here. Turn that down. And we should be good to go. Hey, how's it going, Jason? Welcome in. My pockets are full. Wonder Main, how's it going? Hey, Kai. Welcome. How are you doing today, Kai? I haven't checked Discord. How are things? There it is. Next question. I'm sorry. Man. Here's the thing. Okay, Kai? Expect that it's going to be like that for a little bit, okay? Because at least then it's not going to seem so like something's wrong, okay? Like a lot of the things that you like struggle with and stuff are, from my mind at least, and my experiences and experiences with others also around that time, is a very familiar, normal thing. That sucks. But these things also, like, here, what I'm saying is basically, like, don't think that like this is a unique thing that the universe is like singling you out or something, you know, like it legitimately is like, I don't even want to say like a rite of passage. I just want to say like a common thing, you know? And, but the thing is that it's temporary. A lot of it is just temporary. And it's all like stupid stuff that people just go through, you know? Hopefully you can hear me. I didn't have the microphone in place, but, you know, I know that that doesn't really like help too much, because like you're like, you know, wondering like regardless like when it's gonna change and all that stuff. But I think it's just even just trying to hold on to the fact that it's temporary. It's not like destined to be that like this difficult forever. And you know, life kind of moves you through different phases where you go through different types of difficulties, and these are the kind that you're dealing with right now. Other difficulties will be hopefully easier to manage and easier to go through, you know? Yeah. And I mean, it sucks. It sucks that you kind of have to have, you know, tough days and then they're fine because you've had tougher, right? But, you know, it's not, again, it's not permanent. And like, I wish I would have known that, because I seriously just like felt so, I don't know. I always felt like it was like so unfair, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know. It's kind of unfair that people have to go through this, or some people have to go through this, but yeah. But you got noodles. And that's just it, is you hang on to the things like the noodles. Just remember you got noodles, you know? And I think every day when you have rough days, try and look for where the noodles are. Not the actual ones, but like what's your noodle for that day? What's the thing that you got that you're like, but I got this, you know? Because like you have to be able to like enjoy the things that you would normally enjoy, and not let the things that happen take away your joy of those other things, you know? So I don't know. Hey Honeybay, hey Autumn, how are y'all? Good morning. Hold on, I gotta check the text. Let me see. See. Um, all right. Okay. What do we got going on? I had a little morning cry. I am sorry. And a 4 cheese bagel. So was the 4 cheese bagel um, a delight? There's my blob, and there's Joso. How are you? Um, oh, I don't know if it did the overlay thing. Did it do the overlay thing? Probably not, because I didn't switch to this and then switch back. But it should now. Had another live babbling with yours. What? I do love some urban garlic cream cheese. Ooh. 1.9. I'm just being so Joso, you are confusing the heck out of me. 1.91. Um. Oh. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. I'm like a bit confused. Um. Oh. Oh. Can't stay long because I'm with some friends. Just wanted to say hi. Hi, Blob. I hope you have a lot of fun time with your friends. Um, yeah. Um, oh, no problem, Joso. I'm like kind of spacing right now. I wanted to make sure I got more than 3 hours sleep last night because it's been like 4 or 5 days in a row now where like I just naturally wake up after 3 hours of falling asleep and then just can't go back to sleep. And so I took a medication to help me fall asleep, and that results in like a lot of like brain fog and just being exhausted. So I'm Red Bulling it up again, and hopefully I'll be able to have a little bit more cognitive function soon. Serious plans, huh, Blob? Yeah, it definitely shucks. But yeah, it does. The thing is that like I wanted to make sure. Hey Kim, how'd it go? Hey, sorry I missed your live. I've been having issues sleeping, and I ended up taking a sleeping pill, and I knew that I was probably gonna miss it, so I had to like reschedule stuff. But how did it go? And are you doing that same time regularly? Oh, I know. But still, I knew it'd be fine, but I still wanted to, is what I'm saying. And that was, so I want to make sure that I can do it because I do have my regularly scheduled time and it does align perfectly. In Norway, there's this thing called Russ, or for final year in school, Rush. And group names, that's awesome. Trazodone. So I can take 100 milligrams of trazodone, but I usually take 50. Yesterday I took 100. So yeah. Oh, that's one thing I need to do. So, all right. Hey, so Kim, I'm gonna give you mod, but you don't have to actually be a mod or do any of the mod things. But mainly just so that you pop up on the thing when you join, that it shows you and all that stuff. If I were to do everyone, it would just go like crazy. So just letting you know, there's no expectations at all. But it's simply just so that you pop up there. Trazodone. Well, see, there's the thing. Trazodone, like for me, it's the only thing that usually works without that the after effects. Usually when I take 50. Bye, Blob. Have a good day. Everybody say bye to my favorite blob in the entire universe. Thank you for the Go Populars. Yeah, so Yeah, trazodone. If I take 50, I'm fine. And but the thing is like 100 guarantees sleep. 50 helps me like kind of drift off. And so it's that's kind of like the thing is that like I desperately needed to get a full night's sleep because it had been like 5 or 6 days, and having previously dealt with insomnia, I'm like, oh heck no, I'm not going back there, you know. So people keep messaging you because of like what happened at school. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah. Um, Thank you for the refresh and the shares and all that stuff. I appreciate you, Kim. Oh man, my foot is so itchy. All right. What was I gonna say? No, just in general messaging you. Oh, okay. Well, hey, at least it's not to talk about that, you know. Um, slap it. I would much rather itch it and tear apart my skin. No. Yeah. Ghosting everyone. Oh, come on. Woohoo! All the roses. Thank you, Kim. Let your name live on that gift gallery. Um, yeah. Kai, if you're ghosting people, okay, but if they're people who are good encouragements, people who can be there for you, um, don't write those people off. Okay, like keep your close people still close to you, even in times when you feel like ghosting everyone. Because even if you're just replying to them and saying, "Hey, I can't really talk right now," or not really feeling up for talking right now, you know, but don't push those people away because those are the people you're gonna need. You know. Um, yeah, the trazodone. But yeah, so if I take 50, I'm fine. But yeah, I didn't want to. I don't want to go back into the insomnia stuff because especially since I'm trying to like get all the medication stuff sorted out with my ADHD. Like it all basically depends on how good a sleep you get, you know. And so I feel like it's really important to get that sleep. It is. I had it for like a year and a half, and God, it was so awful. I can't tell you how many times I watched The Martian, because that became like um, my movie that I would watch that I would just like kind of memorize. So it would be like, all right, well, it's not intriguing enough. It's dull enough during certain parts, and I just watched it so many times. You kind of have nighttime insomnia, um, meaning that like you're what? What do you mean? Um, the Familiar Friend lullaby movie. I never looked at it that way, but yes, absolutely that. But it's really great because he gets off Mars. Oh, I'm sorry, spoiler alert, but it came out like 10 years ago. He gets off Mars like every night, so it's kind of cool to like see a success, you know. Um, I think part of it too is like there's a certain sense of hopelessness that's absolutely there that you realize there is hope, and sometimes it's just complicated to actually get out of the difficult situations that you're in, especially when it seems nearly impossible. I think subconsciously I was like, I kind of need to be reminded of that, you know? Kai, I'm so sorry, but they're not going to create a movie about somebody who gets stranded on Mars and then they just leave them there, right? Like, how much of a depressing story would that be? Um, you know, Lola, thank you for the heart me. Um, and Honeybay, thank you for the heart me too. Sven, hopefully I said that right. I'm doing well. How are you? You're okay, but I'm so tired of complex hope. Well, how else are you gonna address the complex issues without complex hope, right? Martian Part Two, like where he goes back, he's like, okay, well this time it's fine, right? And then the same thing happens. Like nah, guys, we should stay here. Just like repeat the same thing, and everybody just looks at him like, are you dumb? And then they like force him out, and then the movie's over in like 10 minutes. That'd be great. Oh, awesome, awesome. Glad I got that. It's not that often that I will get, um, you know, certain names proper, if they're names that I'm not used to as someone who lives in the US and Southern California and was, isolated and sheltered for the majority of my youth. He goes back, he's like, I kind of miss it. Yeah, yeah. He's like, he wants to pick up that little, that satellite pet that he had or whatever. That, not that satellite, the solar panel pet, which never made sense for me why it worked inside, but hey, whatever. Um, complex avoidance. Okay, so yeah, you deal with the issues with either complex avoidance, but you could still have avoidance and hope, because avoidance is more of like inaction, right? Hope can come regardless of action. So I cried today because a family member said I alienated myself from the family. Why did they think that you would alienate yourself from the family? Gabe's at school. Are you like hiding AirPods and like kind of, you should pay attention, but maybe what I'm teaching you is more important. Lunch. Okay, well there's that too. Honey Bay, I get that. And it's like you distance yourself from the things that you know are unhealthy, right? Or the things that like are uncomfortable but for good reason. So alienating yourself, avoiding it. Hey, you know what? I alienated myself from my family. I avoid my family, my family I grew up in, not my like family that I created or co-created. And I don't even really want to unavoid, and I think it's actually healthy for many reasons. So, I mean, it's not bad. Yeah, and that's the thing, Honey Bay. It's like if they're talking so much trash about each other, like, what makes you think that that stops when you're not around, right? And like that's something that I always realized with people is like, especially groups of friends. I hated hanging out with groups of friends, especially when they would start talking trash about people behind their backs, because it's like, they'll do that to you, you know and it's like it's all just there, and all we're doing is denying that they're doing that to us. If you have friends that talk trash behind each other's backs, because then it's like, no, there's no trust there, or there shouldn't be any trust there. I got cookies for some reason. I don't even want them. Just save them for later. Just save it for later, you know throw it in that backpack and have like a snack mid class. You only kept your grandma close? Yeah. Trying to think. Out of everyone in my family, probably my older brother I'm closest with, but even him I don't really talk to that much. But he and I both fully understand the youth that we had and the complexity and all the stuff. He knows about all my things that were as a result of it. He knows all that stuff. And so when I talked to him about, hey, so I'm gonna have to cut everyone off, he was like, do it. And so then there's also the brother right under me who's like 4 years younger. He was able to experience like the tail end of a lot of stuff, but he gets it. Everyone else, like, it's so foreign to them, they won't know. Kai, before you decide that, there's a movie that I want to tell you about. Hold on a second though, because I need to look up what it is. So give me a second here. But I gotta check some other comments. She was the one who said, I don't care who you are with as long as you come see me. Joe, so that's awesome. My aunt, my mom's sister, came out quite a while back, and it was the reason why she had avoided family gatherings and stuff for like a very long time, like over a decade. And when my parents, again, super conservative, all that stuff, sat us all down at the table to tell us the bad news, we were like, oh cool, so we get to see her again, like since she is finally being out. Like, we were all happy. And I don't know. So I mean, like, I'm still kind of close to her too, but it's also hard because she's my mom's sister. Groups of friends are sketchy because you know they do it when you're not there. Exactly. Hey Alicia, how's it going? With the whole bipolar thing, Gabe, you don't have to. You don't have to talk about the bipolar thing unless you feel like it's actually going to be beneficial for you getting that help. Because really, like I understand a lot of stuff, and like that it's that it's, as a parent, it's conflicting for me to say this, but really truthfully, like, if you feel like you can't trust someone fully with understanding your mental health, like, you don't disclose it to them, but you do got to find people that you can trust and people who will encourage you to pursue things like therapy and all that stuff when the time comes, you know, because it can complicate things, especially if they're people who don't really believe in that mental health is real, you know. Medicine's not it's not going good yet, but I haven't taken it yet today. But I did get more sleep last night, so I'm hoping that that will help reset it. But as soon as my effects from the sleeping pills wear off, I'm gonna take the medication. Right now I'm just trying to shake that feeling. Yesterday I went to donate plasma. They took info and told me, sorry, we can't accept donations from you. Deborah, I can't donate for so many reasons. I've been to India, and that's one reason. I get tattoos too often. That's another reason. And I think those are like the two primary ones that I can think of. But I mean, when you think about a lot of the other reasons why you can't donate blood, it's so outdated, you know, and I think a lot of it is just caution, right? And then people, like, you know, and I get that to a certain degree, but a lot of it's just outdated, you know. Crying right now because I got back into that moment when she said that. Joso, I mean, it's a beautiful moment, seriously, to remember. I bet all neurodivergents could find a way to live on Mars. It's actually true, and I feel like we could all, like, get there and survive, you know, if we had the right kind of provisions, you know, and enough food to last. Because I also do feel like neurodivergence, especially with the emotional dysregulation, would be like, well, holy crap, I just calculated how much time we have in my head based off of the food that we have, and, you know, the provisions and everything, and we have only this amount of time. And then that will start some panic because you will just do that in the back of your mind. So hey Alina, hey bestie, how's it going? And we're used to unfavorable conditions and thriving in chaos, right? School cookies taste so good. There's these cookies at that outpatient program that I go to. They're so good. I bring them home for my kids. Hey Desiree, how's it going? Tim, why am I being told to join your live by TikTok when I'm already here? Kai, it's because they just really, really want you to embrace this live. So while you're tuned in, they're saying, no, Kai, like, really tune in. Okay, like, really listen to what Tim's saying. That's what TikTok's telling you, okay? And I don't even want you to, like, think twice about that. Just go with it, because that's what TikTok is telling you. Shower and I was okay. I usually dread it, but you did it. Alicia, I found out recently that the shower head specifically is too intense for my sensory sensitivity, but I never realized it. Adventures with Beth, how's it going? And thank you for the heart me. What was it? What was I just talking about? It's there. I know it's there. Took shower head. Okay. So I would get in the shower, but I would always get, like, chills. Even if the water's all hot and everything, I would, like, have chills all over my body the whole time. And so I'd turn the heat up thinking I'm cold, right? And then I got one of those rain shower heads because I researched and I realized, oh, that I'm actually like overstimulated. So I got one of those. It's a lot easier on the sensory. For my thing, it's like I feel like it's less things hitting me because they're bigger drops. Um, and then when I do need to like rinse out my hair, I'll just temporarily switch it over to the traditional one to rinse out my hair. But since then, like I haven't been getting chills, feeling overwhelmed, any of that kind of stuff. So I realized even those little things were adding stress. So I'm trying to be like much more, um, I don't know, mindful of what things do potentially add stress that I don't even realize, because it manifests in a way that for me is easy to see. Oh, this isn't right, you know. Um, Looked for your car for 30 minutes in three different parking lots. Um, okay, well, the mall, I can understand that. I can understand the mall because you probably get used to like parking in different areas and not remembering where. So I'm glad that it's that, but it would be different if like you were, say, at the grocery store and you parked and then you were like, I don't know, then you walk over to like a different shopping center. I was kind of going straight to that. So I'm glad it's not that bad. Um, uh, Someone, only smart people suffer with mental health. Okay, yeah, I'll accept that. Um, oh man, Desiree, the doubling the dosage. Yeah, so I can take 100 milligrams of trazodone, and typically though I just take 50 because 100 is like needed sometimes, but not all the time. And last night I took 100. I took a hundo, and I woke up feeling 100% sleepy. So yeah. Um, Kai, you have a question? Sorry, I'm gonna scroll down because I realize I'm behind. Um, I did say hundo. I did say it. One hundo. You forgot the question. I'm sorry. You not pay attention going into the mall. Um, yeah, I get it. I definitely have times where I realize that I don't know that I realize that things are I don't know. I get like well, actually, so the outpatient program that I would go to every day, um, I don't go to it every day now, but just 3 times a week. But um, the first time I went, I would just park in what available spot I had, and I would seriously, it would take me like 20 minutes to remember where I parked because each day kind of seemed repetitive as far as walking to the place and checking in and doing all that stuff. But I would seriously like forget, and so then I just ended up parking like in the far away areas, and then just because it was always open, and just saying, all right, I'm just gonna park here every day. Yeah. Um, I don't drive a Honda. Um, Latuda helps you sleep. Yeah. I've only tried. Well, I've tried other things, but trazodone for me was like pretty decent. Like, let me see. Like, who the hell does anything and doesn't talk themselves through it? I don't know. But at the same time, I could talk myself through something and still forget. And you have me for 14 more minutes until I go for a nap. Good, Kai. Set a limit on how much longer you're going to be in here. In 14 minutes, if you're still in here, I'm just going to rage kick you. Son, I am your surrogate mother. If you were unmotivated to do anything and just feel, what would you do? Like, I am just tired. Um, awesome. So give me an example, not awesome, but awesome that I can help. Is give me an example of something that you're unmotivated to do. You used to drive a Honda and it was white, manual, two-door. and my car blended in with all the others. Well, Desiree, I am just impressed that you can drive a manual transmission because there's not too many people that can, and that's how I learned to drive. The only times I have driven in recent years with a manual has been like in Ireland, or I think, yeah, just Ireland, because I wouldn't drive in any of the other places I traveled to. But that was driving on the other side of the road with the steering wheel on the right side and then shifting with the left hand. And so it was weird, but also kind of fun. It's fun to drive manual cars, except in Southern California when it's stop and go. Um, Not using implicit and explicit memory at the same time. Yeah, and you're baffled. Um, it's called executive dysfunction. Executive dysfunction will take all the logical things and just, you know, it doesn't even matter. It's the whole disarray of structure and everything, you know. Yes, you think you're a race car driver? I get that, right? It's it's a tough thing to who just stands there cooking eggs, thinking about something else than completing a task. Um, so like I've focused like really hard on like trying to just be present, because I've realized that like I will get easily distracted, especially when I have to multitask things. Like yesterday, I had to make two different dinners, one outside, one inside, all at the same time, while using a stove, an oven, a griddle, and was trying to get everybody to also eat at the same time. And yeah, that didn't work out well. Gabe, like I don't know, I used to go to the gym and work on everything I wanted to, but now I don't want to do it. All right, so we'll use gym as an example. All right, going to the gym. So you know, when you decide to go to the gym, there's obviously a lot of hurdles, okay? Because it's not just, hey, I got to go to the gym. It's, all right, I got to get my workout clothes. I got to change into those workout clothes. All right, let's just dissect that part, that very beginning part. All right, I got to go to the gym. I don't even want to get up, right? I don't even want to get to my clothes. Ah, man, Gabe, I'll come back to it. All right. Um, yeah. Um, Going to the gym is overrated, Sven, but there should be a period right after the D, and then nothing else after that. um, you got this. That was me last night. Yeah, Alina has been going through a like workout routine and stuff, and you know, doing a lot of that and streaming about it too. Um, you should definitely follow her if you're, you know, lacking motivation specifically on that kind of stuff, especially because yeah, you'll be very encouraged by, you know, her progress and stuff. So follow Alina if you're having trouble motivating yourself to go to the gym. Um, do you have that problem where rage issues when someone stops you in the middle of a thought? Oh my gosh. Okay. So, do I have problems with rage issues? I'm gonna dissect that a little bit too, but not to get too much into it. I hate when people stop me in the middle of a task or a thought. Hate it because it completely derails me. I have to, I mean, like, look at how I just think about questions and get distracted and come back in. With tasks, it's even worse, okay? Um, I don't get rage about it because I used to, but um, part of what I've done is learn dialectical behavioral therapy, which teaches you emotional regulation. And one of the things that it also teaches you is the skill called the stop skill, where you just give yourself a moment to think, to process, to kind of, you know, be thoughtful with your reaction. And so that's one of the skills. which is good because then from there you can choose what's the next skill that you're going to use. And I would go into emotional regulation and really trying to like understand the moment, which is if I'm being interrupted, well, most of the time it's my 6-year-old, and it's like, okay, well, he's 6, he's really excited, he possibly has ADHD as well. He even tells me, Dad, I forget things a lot. And so I know that when he does say stuff, it's probably saying it impulsively and interrupting because he knows he's going to forget. And so he busts it out. And so I try and, for him, give him a little bit of grace in that area and understand that, he's trying to remember too. But then at the same time telling him, hey, grab my hand if you want to interrupt or something, and I'll let you know when I'm ready. So trying to kind of work both ways in that, but at the same time acknowledging, the struggles that they have. Yeah. So the thing is, it's like, who has the more responsibility to handle it, with grace, and handle it with, responsibility to then model how to deal with that stuff. And I'm not guilting you, but it's you. And we can model that stuff. And the thing is like, a lot of times we don't even have to teach it. We just have to be it, yeah. Let's see, just like really buffed and ripped bodies are all Chads in my mind. Are Chads good or bad, Joso, in your mind? Because I would see that as a negative, but if there's a Chad in here, we're not talking about you, okay? I heard some good advice by a therapist who told me to sleep in my gym clothes. I don't go to the gym though, so she was talking to the wrong person, but I always remember. Well, that's kind of good though too at the same time, because gym clothes are usually like the moisture wicking clothes and all that stuff, right? And I love sleeping in clothes that stay cool, or anything that keeps me cool. And so, I mean, I would do that. Autumn, thank you for the heart me. We have moments where you're like, nope, can't compute. Yeah. Okay, I took my 5. Let's readdress. Exactly. And that's where a lot of it just and that's one of the things I like about the DVT stuff, is that even just a simple skill like stop is like, it's okay. Like, and you can accept that it's okay to just stop. You don't have to respond right away. And that gives you the opportunity to not be so impulsive, even though for me, that's something I struggle with, is impulsivity. But the stop skill like really does tell your mind, hey, despite what you're dealing with, we got to stop. Despite your impulsivity, we have to stop, and understanding the importance of that, especially when you realize all the times stop would have benefited you. So sometimes it is kind of good to like ruminate on negative experiences if you're doing it with a growth mindset of what would have worked here, right? And for me, a lot of it has been looking at these kinds of situations and then saying, when this situation comes up, I need to remember this, and really just like making it about that growth and making it about that change. Because then when you remember that and you kind of ingrain that into you try it the next time, and then you see progress, you see things be a little different. I feel like the camera is way too high or something, because I feel like I'm all super low. But anyway, charge a little highlight of my days during the storm 9/11 or Area 50. Why did I say 9/11? Area 51 times. Oh my gosh, I remember the storming Area 51 thing. Oh my gosh. Like, here's the thing. I want to and love to believe that there's extraterrestrial things happening in Area 51. It's such a fascinating thing, right? Because there is secrecy. When they were going to I was like, oh my gosh, like, do these people just want to get unalived? Like it literally says posted everywhere that like lethal force is like authorized, you know It's like a bunch of people saying, "Hey, yeah, we're all gonna go," and then do something that's like obviously going to unalive all of them. It's just like, I don't know. It was so weird, but at the same time fascinating. I was like, "Oh, guys, yeah, yeah, go ahead and do it. Let's see what happens." You know, um, who diagnosed me with that many disorders? Different people, but they just all happened to me. So yeah. But if you have any questions about it specifically, let me know. Uh, just got followed for driving too close. Yeah, maybe a little stop skill would have helped there. It worked. It worked. Um, were these people professionals? What do you mean? Like, let me ask you a question. When you get a headache, what happens? Do you go to a professional to get diagnosed? Or do you just like start to help yourself? Start to try and correct the issue? Of course, you do go to a professional when you get a headache. That makes plenty of sense. I'm sure you spend a lot in medical bills. Um, but yeah, not when you really want to know, let me know, and I can give you real insights into what it's truly like to have all this stuff. Now, I disabled it. I disabled it because it's being used a little too aggressively, but it may work. It may work in a little bit. It's kind of like I flick it on and flick it off when it can work. But yeah. But yeah, Zero, if you seriously want to know and you're not just trolling, I can tell you all the details and you will be shocked at what happens. Yeah. Da, 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 da. Exactly, Zero. You are so right. So I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression before all of this. And so I was taking anxiety and depression medication and all that stuff, but it was more just managing it. It was like, hey, we can take your anxiety from here to here, even though like I should be here. And that was all the result of all these things going unnoticed and being not tended to in the right way, causing much more stress and failures in my own sort of attempt to correct these things, resulting in a lot of depression and a lot of anxiety. All right, Kai, right on time. Have a good nap. Um, um, so yeah, you're so right that sometimes symptoms of things are indicators of something bigger. And thankfully, I figured that out, because otherwise I would have just continued taking the anxiety and depression medication and not addressing like the core issue. So there's a lot of truth to what you said, you know. Um, and see, here's the thing: if you know it's because of a hangover, you're not gonna go get to a doctor for a diagnosis, because you're like, well, I know why this happened. I know why this is being this way. So you're like, well, this happened because of this, so I'm going to do this, right? And that makes sense. That's a self-diagnosis, right? Because you're smart, because you know what you did, what happened. So yeah, um, you know, but at the same time too, when I go through life and I realize I have all this anxiety, and then I realize, well, focusing at work is really, really, really hard. I can hardly get things done. And when I do, like, I'm super, super stressed over the smallest things, you know, that's when it gets a little confusing. So yeah, then you have to think deeply about what's going on. And then when that happens over 6, 7 years, you start to see this huge decline in your ability to do things. And then you crash, and then you realize that all these things that you were hiding from yourself. You were covering them up because as a child, you grew up in an environment where if you were seen, you were probably going to get hurt by those who were supposed to love you the most, and physically hurt. And so then you try your best to not stick out, which means when you can't sit still because of hyperactivity, when you can't remember what your parents asked you to do, things start to get a little complicated because they see that as defiance and not an issue. So then you train yourself to do whatever you can to remember, to do whatever you can to sit still. You do all that out of survival, right? And then you start from, that starts to happen when, let's say you're 3 years old, right? You start to get treated very unfairly, having to deal with a lot of emotions that a 3-year-old should not have to deal with, like betrayal from the one who's supposed to love you the most, with physical pain and emotional distress, right? And then they continue to do that thousands of times until you're about 8, 9 years old. So between the ages 3 and 8, you learn a lot about the world. You learn how to respond to the world. You learn how to take in the world. And you realize 40 years later, all those things that you learned that are foundational to your person was built out of a chaotic moment, right? It was all built out of chaos, and which means when I go and talk to somebody, I'm doing it out of panic. Now, I may not actually say things that are panicking, but inside, I'm panicking because I learned how to deal with this stuff in panic. And you don't learn things and then unlearn them when the panic goes away because you're used to panic being your baseline. How does one acquire such disease? These aren't diseases, so you can't acquire them like that. Yeah, panic is normal mode. And so that's how your life is. And so you end up stressing yourself out without even realizing it because panic is very stressful. Especially if you're constantly panicked, right? And so you add all this stress to you, and then this fear of failure, right? That it's going to really harm you. So then you push yourself further and further and further, and you just try harder and harder and harder. And then you get into the workforce, right? You start your career, and then tasks are a little hard, but you don't have that threat anymore, right? You don't have that threat of, I'm going to be physically attacked. So instead you feel like, well, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to be homeless, and we can't have that. So try harder. And so then you try harder. You continue to stress yourself out more and more and more and more and more. And for some reason, when you hit 43, you burn out. Your nervous system literally just gives up. And so one day I woke up and it seemed like I had contracted ADHD and, autism and PTSD and dyslexia, right? It just seemed like I had contracted it. But really, all the ways that my nervous system said, no, 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 you do this to do this, you do this to do this, so that everything is fine, it just gives out and says, I can't do this anymore. And so I was there with basically no routine on how I handled things and just exposed to these strong symptoms of things that I never even realized. Yeah, my psychiatrist prescribed me with medication. Yep. And it hasn't really helped yet, though, because the medication only works for ADHD and for the focusing stuff, but the complex PTSD, which is from the childhood stuff, it creates this brain fog because your amygdala is like very easily triggered. I'm sure you can understand that, like my fear response, right? If I had to go through ages 3 to like 8, constantly fearing that something was going to happen and justifiably being scared, I am so used to fear just being an instant response. It just happens. And the thing is like over time you start to identify, well, this fear isn't real. So you kind of write it off. You're like, I feel this fear, but it's not real. So then you just kind of feel like, oh, I'm kind of like a scaredy cat, because I don't watch like horror movies. I could never watch horror movies because that fear response that I have is so easily done that like horror movies, I'm just constantly reliving this uncomfortable feeling that I had all growing up, right? It's not something that I like. And so Yeah, and the world keeps telling you to man up too, right? The world keeps saying like you can't talk about this stuff, don't deal with this stuff, just shove it down, you know? And so we do, you know? And I did all that stuff. And actually, see, the thing is like my issues with the ADHD, I did tell my mom twice growing up. After a few years after I learned how to read, I realized when I read one page and then I move on to the next, I can't remember the first page. So it's like I can't read and remember at the same time, right? I can read and I can say the words, but it's just going in, basically in one ear and out the other. Even though that's not the right way to say it when I'm reading it. Um, but I told her, and then told her again when I was like, taking community college classes. Both times she said, try harder. So even then, when I was younger, I was told, try harder when you approach these things. But the thing is that the neurological condition of ADHD doesn't work with try harder when it's so severe. A lot of times it just doesn't work at all. But some people can get by. But the kind that I had was pretty severe, but it was hidden because of the trauma, right? Like, because I didn't want it to be seen. But when I did feel comfortable about bringing it up, it was dismissed with try harder, you know? And so that ended up becoming sort of the mantra of how I approached difficult things in life, especially difficult things up here, right? Just try harder. And that was the worst advice I'd ever gotten in my life, because that try harder was what led my nervous system to say, fuck it, fuck you, to me, you know, because it was so drained. And like even now, about a year and a few months later, I'm still trying to get out of the burnout phase, um, because my nervous system gave up. When it started coming back online, I realized lots of things about myself. Like I have sound sensitivity, which is like the stupidest thing to have hidden from yourself, right? It's the stupidest thing, because it's like, how can you deny or hide the fact that you had sensory sensitivity, right? And I mean, this is how ridiculous it gets. I had this sensory sensitivity. I remembered being like hating fireworks, hating like loud toilets and bathrooms, hating loud fans, like the hand dryers. Oh my gosh, like I don't want to use those. I would much rather walk out with wet hands, right? Like as a kid. Um, but everyone was listening to music very loud in their headphones. I could barely get it past like what, 4 or 5 on the thing, but everyone else was doing it, and so I just turned it up. And you know, it was uncomfortable, but I liked the music. It was giving me dopamine. So eventually, I was like, no, I listen to it this way. I do it this way, and it stopped hurting. But really, what happened was rather than feeling that physical pain that I would feel, it just went into like my back muscles, and my nerves were like digging into my muscles, and so I'd get like a very tense back. And when my nervous system, shut down that routine, I was back to how I was as a child as far as the sound sensitivity, but now I could explain it better. I could understand it better. And it was like chills all over my body, but it was sharp pains, like pins and needles or electric shocks. And when I would experience that, it would go whenever I would hear certain sounds. My dog barks twice, I feel 2 quick jolts. I end up becoming a DJ and turning the volume up to 11. Yeah. Um, and when you do that to somebody who already has sound sensitivity, but the brain doesn't realize it, you think, well, this isn't right. I should just tough this out. And like you do tough it out. Like, yes, real physical pain comes from sound sensitivity. It really does. Like even now. So I have to wear noise canceling headphones a lot of times. School pickup is the worst. Imagine like a bunch of screaming kids. Oh my gosh, it is like dreadful. Like I won't. The most physical reaction that you'll see from me is me clenching or closing my eyes, right? Because I feel it. It's literal pain throughout my whole body. But also something that I only like recently discovered, because my nervous system used to just internalize it. Now it doesn't. Hey, thanks for the follow. And so now that I'm like exposed to this, it's like, well, what the hell? So yeah, eventually there was more that kind of happened prior to the burnout, because I did have repressed memories come back from the trauma because of this physical ailment that I had that felt exactly like the trauma I would experience. It's a whole big story. It's very complicated. And the fact that I even understand it a year and a couple months later to this degree is just insane. But I also did a lot of therapy and a lot of doctor's appointments. But the thing is that if you would have asked me a year and 3 months ago, I would not have known any of this. I would have probably thought you were ridiculous and would just not believe you. I wouldn't have believed doctors. It took me having to experience it again to actually realize, no, I like these things need to be taken care of. How do I handle physical altercations? Well, for me as a child, I learned, because I was 3, that there's helplessness, right? Because when you're 3 and you're being attacked by your caregivers, what do you learn how to deal with? How do you deal with it then? You just submit, right? You accept that this is your fate. And so within the medical terms, that's the freeze response. So your fear, for a lot of people, they've determined that there's certain ways that people deal with fear. Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And then I think there's another one too. I think it's negotiate or something like that. But my body chose freeze. There was no other choice. You just freeze. And then as a kid, I developed this dissociative disorder where I found a way as a child to turn on certain cues in my body that would numb emotions and numb physical pain. And so I would go to that place in my head where it didn't feel as bad, where it didn't, emotionally, I wasn't as scared. And that ended up developing into a dissociative disorder where I will just space out. My body just goes to that place sometimes. But I'm glad now, because having to experience beyond what I remember experience would have been very, very, very traumatic, But so I learned to freeze, to not do anything, but I would have emotional responses. I would get mad. The thing with all of these is that they come with emotional dysregulation. ADHD, I'm so emotionally dysregulated from all the invalidation, from all the times I've tried and failed on all the things that have to do with ADHD. Complex PTSD, emotional dysregulation think of how I learned emotions, right? In that traumatic state. I was already kind of like set up for not being able to handle my emotions the right way, because here's the thing. I was told as a child, this is going to continue to happen, like about one specific incident. You're going to continue to get this until you stop crying, like in the moment. So I have to experience pain, but I cannot express it. I cannot express that sadness. Okay. Kind of some messed up stuff, but that triggers a whole set of emotional dysregulation. And so all these things really made me emotionally dysregulated. But thankfully, I tuned into certain certain therapy models like dialectical behavioral therapy, which teaches specifically emotional regulation. And so I was able to really get a lot of like helpful tips and information that really did change the way I respond to things. You freeze and negotiate, but I found I can take a lot of damage and feel no physical pain. Dissociation. Like the thing is people look at dissociation as like forgetting, blacking out, right? That's not what it is. It's that you can find ways to shut off pain receptors or even just ignore them, right? There's people who can take a lot of pain. Do you think they just don't feel it, or they just know how to ignore it? Like, it's the same nervous system. It's the same stuff. It's sending the same signals to the brain, but how you respond to it is different, And so, these are all coping mechanisms that you learn. But for me, it was survival, right? And it became so important to me and to my body that it held on to it, Yeah, you're aware, but you feel like you're out of yourself. That's depersonalization. So if you look up depersonalization, that's what that is. For me, the way that it looks is that I'm still in me, but I feel like I'm in me, but like through like a one-way mirror, and I'm looking outward. So I can see everything, but I'm not really there. Okay? Things get like a little hazy. So the way would dissociate is I would shut down physical and emotional. Visually, I would see the last thing that I see and it would just slowly fade out. And I could still hear everything though, probably because of the sensory sensitivity. I really don't know, but I could still hear everything clearly. But as long as I couldn't feel emotion and feel pain, that was good enough for me. And so that's the way that I learned how to do that. Do I think I'm a little self-absorbed? No. I think I'm just sharing my experiences with people because mainly like a lot of people feel like they're alone in a lot of this stuff. And since doing this, I've helped people not feel as alone as they think they are, which for me has helped turn a lot of my negative experiences into something that not necessarily makes it worth it, but is a silver lining, I guess, in a very dark thing, you know? I think it is kind of worth it though in the same way because a lot of people do realize things about themselves that helps them grow and helps them deal with it in a way where they can live and thrive. But it takes having to explain these things that people tell you not to talk about, and then people thinking you're being self-absorbed when really it's just like, no, if you guys are dealing with this, like I'm here too, like me too. And there have been a lot of people who are saying, yeah, me too, who normally would not even talk about it. And this is like serious stuff, you know? But yeah, so it's rough, okay? So I don't really come on here. I'm not coming on here to make money, okay? Like if I were to check right now, I'm sure TikTok would tell me that I've made 18 cents and I've been live for an hour. That's the worst, right? That's not minimum wage. That's not even, that's nothing, okay? I'm not on here to do that, build clout or anything like that. None of that stuff matters to me. What really matters to me is the stuff that I went through last year and feeling completely alone when I went through it, and then recognizing and finding out that I'm not alone. And a lot of people don't realize that they're not alone until somebody speaks up. And I have like no shame when it comes to this crap. I'm so over this crap. So I'll share it so that people will identify maybe something that they've had to deal with and live with, that they don't talk to anyone about, that they don't realize is an issue, that maybe they can finally get help for. Because that's what I finally got out of all of this, was help that I asked for as a child and didn't get, but help that I can get now. And rather than thinking about woe is me and all this stuff that happened, it's more like, well, at least from 43 onward, I can be a better version of myself. I can understand I have these things and actually like take care of them while living, because the first act of my life was not that pleasant. But now that I know this and I know all these things, the second act can be so much better, you know? And that's what I want to do. Or the second half, I guess, you know? But yeah, so that's all that. Hopefully that helps. You know, I can go deeper into all of it, but that's really the main reason why I come on here and talk about this. It's very complicated. It's very, very, very complicated. And I know that people come in here and they think, oh, this guy's doing this thing or that thing. But honestly, when people do kind of stick around and understand it, like it's very, very real. And it's a very real thing that a lot of people deal with. I mean, for instance, look, this book exists, okay? And I would say go on to ChatGPT and ask about this book, okay? And then ask about the author, ask about all this stuff, and you'll see how manipulation and all these things can happen and how just circumstances can lead to things. But this book, by the founder of Focus on the Family, The Strong-Willed Child, basically promoted my whole childhood being the way that it should be. And I would say don't read it, but ask ChatGPT to say, hey, what kind of principles are discussed? What kind of things do they suggest you do here? Summarize. And you'll see that this was very real stuff that people just stupidly did that traumatized kids. And there's a whole community of people whose parents had that book who grew up with a lot of issues, and especially those kids who were neurodivergent, who didn't know, that introduces a whole nother level of complexity, because I have sensory sensitivity, which means my nervous system overreacts to things. It overreacts to pain. It overreacts to a lot of stuff. And so the pain that I experienced was compounded so much stronger because of how my nervous system would react to it. And so they don't realize that pain for one kid is different than pain for another kid. So something that might be acceptable and, doesn't lead to any long-term effects for one can significantly harm a different kid. People didn't understand that back then because they didn't realize that it was a spectrum, and so, it gets complicated, but, knowledge helped me. Just learning that book was about that, even though I saw that book on my parents' bookshelf, I never picked it up. But knowing, oh, that's why they had that book. All this knowledge really helps connect things for me so that it's not woe is me. It's, I get it now. Now I get it. Now I understand it. Now I can be much more intentional with how I'm living my life. So yeah, sorry for going off on that for so long. I'm sure there are comments and stuff that came in. If you did ask a comment and you're still here, feel free to ask again. If you can scroll up to it and hold it down, you can, it says +1 copy to send. And when you hit that, it'll populate that back into your comment section. You might have to take out your username, but it'll send it again. Had a fun conversation today with my mother. It's lovely hearing how she just doesn't get mutism, but it's literally how I lived. Yeah, I only recently kind of understood the mutism part for me. But for me, it's like a lockup that takes place where I want to continue a conversation. I want to say something, but for some reason, albeit overthinking it or just scrambling, or just not even knowing socially like what to say, you just end up not saying anything. You just seize, like verbally seize. And it's gotten to the point to where like now I can just like say, hold on, because you can say things that are just like, at least for me, I could say things that are like scripted already. So I'll even tell certain people, hold on, I'm dealing with mute for a second, because it's just like a way of acknowledging and letting the other person know, I need a second, who's saying it's bragging? CTG, thank you for the heart me. Adventures with Beth, thank you for the love you so much. And Autumn for the heart me. I think I already said that, right? I think so. I don't know. Forgot. Hold on. I need to look something up before I ask. Because I don't know all like acronyms or remember all of them all the time. SI. Okay, and I know what you're saying now. Sorry, I know that one, but I just forgot it for a second. Yeah, CPTSD will cause that. See, now the thing for me is that like my fear response was freeze, and like for me, I've never struggled with that too much because it was never really a thought for me that mine was freeze, do nothing, and so I just wallow in it. That's what I would do when I have fear. Whenever I get anxious, to just wallow in it. Like I just sit with it and ruminate on it. So it never got to that point with me, but I feel like a lot of it is just because I was also raised with a lot of shame. This is your fault. This is you, right? And you need to think about what you've done. Go to your room and think about what you've done. And so then it's just ruminating. I'm not going in there angry, mad. I'm going in there thinking I truly did mess up. I need to ruminate on all the things I've done wrong, And so because of that sort of wiring, that's just how it happened. But everyone's trauma is different and how these things approach. And it's not just autism that's a spectrum, trauma is a spectrum. There's so much that's there, and your outlet, your way of thinking, your way of coping will be different based off of the kind of experiences that you've had and what your brain thought was acceptable and not acceptable at the time. And so it's rough, but yeah, that's shame. But I'm on here now because F shame. You know what shame does? Shame traps you in your own head. Shame denies you support from other people who have gone through the same thing, who can relate, who can help you. Shame keeps you imprisoned in isolation, dealing with it just yourself. I have plenty of reasons to have shame that I haven't even talked about, but I will say any of those things. Oh, that's a good one. I'm gonna pin you, Desiree, because that yeah, Brene Brown's like really awesome. And I've seen her referenced in all the IOPs and PHPs that I've been to, and all of the things that she has discussed and everything, like I resonate with so much. And so like I would definitely encourage you, anything that comes from her, like really should pay attention to. I'm such a failure, I couldn't even get the good disability. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed when I found out that, like, look, I can't work at the moment because I'm too burnt out. And so I'm taking a break until like the end of next month. But to even think that if I seriously cannot work, even though these are disabilities, certain things are excluded. And I will not get any help really for this. And I just got to deal with it. So, I won't get anything either there, but it's like, okay, then how do I approach that? Well, I'll approach it when I approach it. I'll think about it then. I'll think about what I'll do when that moment comes. What's the point of worrying about it right now? Because hopefully I'll feel much more relief and comfort and focus when things get better, over the next couple months. So, there's a lot of hope that's there, but it's just taking it one day at a time too. So, yeah. But yeah. So, besides that, how's everyone doing today? You guys saw what happened, right? You did? You saw that the troll came in and followed? Understands? That's why I'm here. One less person in the world believes the stigma. Just rowing our shame boats together. Yep. But see, here's the thing. We're rowing our shame boats together without realizing somebody else is rowing that shame boat with us. And so it's even more isolating and even more imprisoning because the lights are out and you don't realize there's so many people around you who are dealing with the same thing. And so again, I'm just holding a little lantern, like that, like the guy who's in a haunted mansion. He's like holding it like this and shaking. That's what I'm doing over here. Just trying to hold a little lantern, saying, anybody else out here? And there's a lot of people out here. No one understands us except us, Deborah. We understand us, and that's why we need us. You're going to Disney for Halloween? Well, then it's perfect. Perfect. Go on a haunted mansion and you'll see that guy, and then you'll remember, hey, that's what Tim said he does. McGill, how's it going? Oh, Captain, my captain. I'm not a captain, okay? I'm just the guy who's in the same boat as you guys who found a lantern and decided to light it up to see who else is around. And there was a lot of people around, And so people also gravitate to the light, and then they find each other. And that's what we need. That's also why, so like, I'm not promoting this by any means. If you don't have a community of people who understand you, I have a Discord, and that can at least be a stepping stone unto connecting with others. Because doing it just on lives is like, that relies on me. I don't want to be like the center of community. But I do have Discord if you guys want to connect with each other and all that stuff. So links in my profile. You know what I'm going to do though? I'm going to redo that link right now because I've been hearing that it doesn't work. So give me like 2 seconds to create another invite for this. Let's see, invite people, edit link, expires after never, max never, generate new link, copy, and then I'll move it over. So give me just a second. Honey Bay, I didn't, but here's the thing. I've had my kids for a while and stuff, and there was something else that came up that day that did take precedence. But right there, okay, it's still there. And so I'm just gonna actually keep that there for right now. It'll remind everyone. I wonder if I can actually edit my oops, hold on. Sorry, you're gonna hear things. I'm trying not to do anything, just like I opened up TikTok and now it's talking. So, one moment. I need faster internet. Actually, I don't. I just need a computer that's faster. Actually, I don't. It's fine. It just takes a long time. Oh man, I didn't realize you guys were seeing just a white screen. Hold on a sec. Going over here. There we go. All right. Sorry about that. I know you're just checking, and the thing is I'm not like completely slacking. It's just you know, things come up, but like you'll be the first one to hear when I do, and I will make sure that you know. Am I not able to edit my profile from the website? Do I have to do it on the web or on the oh no, I can. There we go. Boom, boom, boom. I can't edit the links. All right. I'm gonna put the link in here, and it's not really gonna actually, you know what, it's not gonna work. But here's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna leave part of it out. You got to add the other part to it. Okay, so Discord is going to be the first part, right? So spelled like this. All right. Did it work? Did it go through? Oh my gosh, it didn't go through. Okay, well, DISCORD, and then after, like, no space, and then you add that afterwards. Oh, if it did, it did. Okay, you see it? All right. For some reason, it didn't show up on mine. Add that part after it. Okay. Copy that, and then that'll be the link. I will figure out how to get it. Actually, sorry, I'm getting off on this, but the thing is like, it's been told to me for quite a bit, for quite a while actually, that this has been broken, and I keep forgetting to update it, and so I want to do it right now before I forget yet again, and all that. So invites, let me find it. Which one was it? It was the VP. All right, there it is. Wait, that's the same one that I had beforehand. Copy. Oops. Here. Guys, it's like the same link. Let me know if that link does not work. I don't get it. Let me see. Here's another thing too. So, I keep saying I'm gonna do this, but it takes forever. I need to find a way to put this link somewhere else, but somewhere else easily accessible. So that I can just say, just go to this website, and the invite will be there. So yeah. I put the link back in there. I generated a new one. Well, let me just like try and actually like generate a full-on new one. Or you know what I would say? Hold down on the link, and then when it pops up and shows you Discord, hit the 3 dots on the top right and say open in browser, and that will probably work. It probably has something to do with the in-app browser. Sorry, I'm a tech geek, so yeah. Adventures with Beth. All right. If you guys do have a Discord username, you can send it to me, and then I can just add you to it. And if you don't have a Discord username, you can easily create one. And yeah. So let me see. Create invite. I won't do that. I need somebody to just, I don't know, deal with this stuff for me. Because I'm doing all this right now. Too much. Yeah. You went to the browser to reroute initially. Oh, man, I need to create like some kind of bot or something. There's a lot of things that I can do. I just need to. Oh, here we go. That's where you do it. Adventures with Beth. No, come on. How am I supposed to add people if I can't add people? Do I have to add his friends first? Also nerd. So it has me search for friends. What's the way that I can add people without them already being my friends? Because I'll have to do that a lot, and so it'd be much easier to skip that step. Okay. So I have this thing that logs all of, for the purposes of having questions show up on the screen. I can do things like this, which will show up then on TikTok, right? And usually it's not so messed up. But anyway, after I end the live, I still have those until the next one, and so I'll be able to go through and pick out which specific ones you guys mentioned, your Discord IDs, and when I figure it out, I'll wait till the end of the chat, or until end of the live, and then I'll do it live then. Link sticker like the post-it note you just had. Oh yeah, I could do that, but you know what would be even easier would be like a tiny URL, because then it's not like random characters and all that kind of stuff. So if I could just create a redirect, oh, that's it. That's it. I just got it solved. Let me that's all I needed was you guys to do that. To mention it. Now I already know what I'm gonna do with my life. Let's see. Do you guys have friends? I don't. I have a girl I speak to on the phone every now and then. Yeah, you know, I agree with Adventures with Beth that you shouldn't come at us like that. Yeah. I do have friends. a lot of them are people that I don't really hang out with that often, but it's okay because that's kind of like how they are too. Um, but a lot of them are also live other places and stuff. People I know and all that, but just different areas. But the thing is I don't really like, if you were to say, hey, go hang out with your friends, that would never happen because it's like most of the people that I know don't know each other. But that's kind of by design. Groups of friends have always been an issue with me. Um, so this is just going to be a temporary one, okay? But it'll be. I just realized something else too. Um, no. What? Let me see here. Talk amongst yourselves while I figure out the thing, because I'm trying to log into a website that um, that I have a tiny URL, because I have a tiny URL website with a custom domain, which means I can easily set up just a redirect from a tiny URL. But I also have to remember it. Maybe I'll just forgot password and do it that way. But I'm promising you, right now we are about to do it. Linktree. Well, the thing is like part of it is that I want it to not have to go through that browser because somewhere in that process it's breaking. But updating the URLs specifically are not. So what I would suggest is just taking this URL and going out of TikTok, or even just going to some other app and using it then. Or like into like Safari or Chrome or whichever one you're using. But actually, it's kind of cool. The tiny URL that I have, and I kind of feel like I want to tell myself, oh no, it was worth it to buy that domain, you know. Oh, you texted. I answered you 50 minutes ago, but I answered out loud. There's another way too that you can add servers, but you have to have the Discord app. You go to add a server, and then already have an invite, join a server, and then, oh, that should work. All right. So here's the thing. Copy the URL from my profile. Try this, okay? Download the Discord app, log in, do all that stuff. After you log in, it'll say add a server, and then it'll say join server, and then it'll ask you to paste in the invite link from HTTPS all the way to the end. Do that, and then in Discord, it will add you to it. So try that, if that makes sense, at least for just right now. I will figure out a way to make it simpler. Honestly, I don't know what it is. It's got to be a Discord issue. But anyway, let's get back to the questions, if there are any more questions or whatever. Let's see. Oh, it totally is. Autumn, do you have the same issue? Because I know you have a Discord as well. But I'll also look at all your names and I will get you all in there. Those of you who shared your names, I will attempt to, unless your names are wrong. And then I will figure out the right way to do it. Yeah, update like every week. See, I can't do that. I can't like make it a weekly routine to update and change the URL. That's ridiculous, you know? Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, see, I can do the permanent link. It says like expires never, right? And number of invites unlimited. Like, technically that's supposed to work. I guess I could make it set for like 30 days and then change it every 30 days, but still, that's like another thing I would have to do, another routine. And Granted, like that's not a routine that I want to focus on right now. I'm trying to get my life in order. Um, so but I know that there's a way to add people. I just don't remember how. So yeah. Anyway, there's something going on, but I'm good at finding workarounds too. I just need to be able to actually focus on it. Because here's the thing. There have been people who have joined and I can see the join method and it's that same invite. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, 5 days ago, 7 days ago, 8 days ago, 9 days ago, 10. So even though this issue has been, going on for a while, even 1 day ago. So there's something going on. But it's just a bummer that it makes it so difficult for people who are trying to connect, And so that's I'll look at all the chats and look for all the usernames that were sent and we'll get you guys in there somehow. So if you receive a friend invite from Commander Keen, any of you guys who actually like know what that's from without Googling, but if you receive an invite from Commander Keen, that's me putting it in my bio. It's well, I could try that. Well, no, the bio, it's maxed out on characters. There'll be a way. There'll be a way. How did parenting go for you guys undiagnosed in life or undiagnosed? So as far as being a parent, or my parenting that I received. The parenting I received, poor. But the being a parent, I approached things with the attitude of like, I didn't like this about my childhood, so I'm not going to do that kind of a thing. And it's definitely changed since realizing my diagnoses because I've been much more attuned to like the actual results of my upbringing being so much deeper than I thought they were. And so from there, it improved a lot more. It was a lot more like, oh, it's not enough to just not want it to be the same way and doing it differently. Like you have to intentionally make sure that this evil never makes its way into your family ever again. It is a very, very, very important thing. Do I have memory recall issues? Diamond Rose, that's all I got. Not all I got, but it's like that's what I live with every moment of every day. If you were to tell me your name, I would forget it like 5 seconds later. I literally tell people, oh, I know what I didn't want my child to experience. Yeah. You wish you were a better parent and know then what you do not. Let's see, there's always time to change. And the thing is like, there would be ways that even the terrible things that, my dad's passed, my mom's still here. There are still ways that my mom could rebuild the relationship, but they're not things that she would ever do. So if you're a parent and you feel like you did something with the right amount of willingness, you could repair things or attempt to repair things. It really just depends on the willingness on both ends. And I would say even just leading up with, you have a lot of regrets, SLE, I don't think so. Mainly because even when I was talking to her about things after I discovered them, one of the last times I talked to her, I asked her a lot of questions about things that I knew she knew the answer to. Yay, honey bae. And she denied a lot of stuff. But the thing is that's par for the course with her. My mother has never apologized for anything in my life, and I'm not being dramatic. It's that she's very, 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 very avoidant when it comes to taking accountability, and a lot of times it's kind of just pushing it onto other people. Well, you shouldn't have, and so it's so you know, I don't push it. I ask once and that's it. You know, no, it doesn't upset me that I don't feel heard for my mom, because when it gets to that point, it's like I don't think she's deserving of me to be upset about that, because she's already taken enough from me. I feel heard by my community. I feel heard by, my therapists and all that stuff. And like, that's where I need it. I really don't need her to hear me, because, I mean, at a certain point, it's like, how much effort should I give into caring about the emotions and feelings of somebody else who did all this stuff without remorse, right? Like it doesn't, like, and that's not even coming from a place of bitterness. That's just like a reality of like protecting yourself and investing your time and emotions in the things that actually matter. Because for me, that would just be a waste. It would be a waste of rumination, a waste of effort, a waste of thought. And I would much rather invest my thoughts into productive things that will work and that will help me and that will help me grow. It's not worth it. Someday she may, and if she does, great. But I'm not going to sit around waiting for it. I can't sit around waiting for it, because realistically, in my head, I know logically, based off of data, it's not going to happen. But people do change. People do have a change of heart, and that's one of the things too, is my dad had a huge change of heart growing up, but he never like opened up about stuff. And I think a lot of it is because mom, he can't open up about it without them agreeing to both open up. And that's one of the things that I really, really wish was different, was that I wish my dad was still here, because I know he would open up about it. That if I told him, Dad, I'm in a lot of pain, there's a lot of things that are just really crumbling around me, and I just need answers. I know I could just say that and he would open up, because the second half of his life, he really did find like emotion and empathy and stuff. And I think he was just kind of trapped in a, state of having kind of felt that remorse, but not really being able to express it, because maybe the other half did not. And by him exposing it, he would be undermining her denial of it, you know? But that's all just kind of like hypothetical in a way, too. Not something I'm going to give too much thought to. But I do know that, like, if it would have been much easier. But that's not the case. So, again, something that I knew could be different, but it's not going to be different. He's gone. He's not coming back. And so it would be really weird if he came back. If he comes back, well, first, he was cremated. That'd be really weird. Kind of be like Sandman in Spider-Man 3. And, you know, whatever one, Far From Home or No Way Home or whatever. I don't know. Or a zombie thing. You never know. You never know. But see, that's the thing, SLE. You can address the hurt. Now, I can't address the why for a lot of stuff. I can't. I can't address the why. Um, but the how, I've found some hows, right? Um, I can't ever understand why my parents decided that this was the thing to do. Bye, Beth. Thank you for coming in. My man, imagine a dust storm, and then you said Sandman. I'm dead. Right, right. In this, I'm in this space. Undiagnosed autism, CPTSD, narcissistic conditioning. Everything hurts. I'm tired. Mr. Tubbs, you are in this space, but you are in the space you need to be in. Because between all of us here, we've touched on a lot of that. In fact, all the things that you're talking about, that's all me right there. Well, not all me, but I have all three of those: undiagnosed autism, CPTSD from my childhood. And I just got done talking about my mother, who I think, by the definition of narcissism and kind of how I've explained things, fits the bill. I'm not a doctor though, so I can't diagnose her with that. Um, you know, but it's kind of like, you know. Um, but yeah, addressing the hurt. I have addressed the hurt. I've, you know, a lot of therapy, a lot of therapy, a lot of processing things. Because the thing for me was that a lot of the hurt was emotional turmoil that I kind of put myself through when I realized that um, I was somehow able to not bring it up for 43 years, and that I never confronted them about it because I had so many opportunities, but why didn't I? For me, the pain was kind of me towards myself. Why didn't I ever say anything? Why did I pass up my opportunity to talk with my dad about it? Why did I not advocate more for myself later on? You know, there were so many things. I felt like I betrayed myself. Um, and so for me, a lot of the hurt I realized was me just being like, what the hell was wrong with you? Like, why didn't you ever, you knew it was wrong. Why didn't you ever say anything later on when you were safe? And a lot of it does have to do with unhealthy attachments to parents, again, book. But it really, really messed me up because I was like, do I just not care about myself? Do I have no self respect? Do I not love myself? Do I not care? Because I really do care. Um, and so it took me understanding, like literally having to understand why, in a literal sense, I did not. And so I had to dive into even like the science behind it because, and the understanding of all this stuff, because it was, I did not understand why I would not bring it up, especially having kids who I would never do anything like that to, you know? And so that was like a big part of like what I had to deal with. Not all of it, but a big part was just me with myself and my own prior responses to this. But through that even came some healing of myself and how I had been post trauma, you know? Um, Bye, Desiree. Have a good day. Let's see. I just made a book and it might help you look for two different perspectives in one. What would those perspectives be? I've done a lot of diving into stuff, you know, and so I'm curious if it's a perspective that I looked at because essentially, like what I was able to realize and come to terms with, essentially has taken care of most if of the if not everything that I can kind of process with my childhood, besides the unanswered questions that are just never going to be answered that I have to radically accept I'm never going to know. Um, you know, and it's okay to just realize, oh, all the knowledge is gone there. I'm not going to know it. That's a quite the name. Or am I not seeing what the actual name is in it? Um, but yeah, just lost the cable you used 2 seconds ago. Autumn, did you try remembering? Sorry, not going back to that. Does it have to do with mental health? Or what's the book called? You didn't try that? Okay. I would suggest you think about where you put it, and then it'll probably be there. Um, what's the book called? Like, can you use quotes so that I can know exactly? Because I want to look it up, but so far all my searches are basically not really coming up with much. Oh, it just fell to the ground. See, I told you. I told you. Did you recently go to another room looking for something? You mean because of the lost something? I used to like reading, but not anymore. I can't read. The lost item. Oh, yeah. Autumn was just talking about how she... Well, yeah. She found it. But yeah. It's just the common, normal, everyday thing, right? um... That's cool. I look forward to seeing it when it's published then. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things that are very insightful from learning through like trauma and everything. And honestly, like the things that I have learned due to my trauma has been very enlightening. Like a lot of the information that I've learned how the brain processes emotions and trauma, and like how, like what the effect of trauma does on how the brain processes emotions, you know, and then also things like how the amygdala gets triggered, and actually some of the things I've learned are more specific to myself. Thank you for the hand hearts, Wonder West. Sorry, I have my computer muted, so I can't even hear that stuff. Um, um, but I learned so much about me that has helped me better get and understand the why behind me. Like the why do I respond this way? The why do I feel this? And diving into like how my amygdala gets triggered, I've been able to get to the point to where um, so this is kind of cool. Tiny Diny from Wanderwest, thank you so much. I have been able to get to a point to where I am when my PTSD is triggered, my CPTSD is triggered. What happens is essentially I will just feel an irrational fear all of a sudden, something that I've been able to kind of just condition myself over time that I feel. But the problem is that it creates this domino effect, because I will get overstimulated. When I get overstimulated, it triggers my nervous system. When it triggers my nervous system, it triggers a physical, an actual thing that I'm taking medication for to resolve. But that pain that I feel from that temporary thing that I have triggers my brain, because my brain remembers that physical sensation, and it starts to shoot back memories of my trauma and emotions and all that stuff too. Because I feel fear, it overstimulates me, and then it triggers that pain, because the pain is tied into my nervous system. And so it creates this domino effect, right? Where I can easily go from fear to repressed memories coming back, tons of emotions I can't deal with. That will just happen, okay? But what I've been able to do due to therapy and stuff is I trigger that when that irrational fear occurs, I'm able to identify it right away. I look around, nothing's changed, nothing's different, I'm fine. It must be my CPTSD. That first realization right there is the thing that really helps me out, because I give myself a moment there. If it's my CPTSD, no current threat, no need to stress. This is just my amygdala being triggered because it's dysfunctional. And so what I end up doing there is start working on my emotional regulation. I accept that I'm going to feel emotions. I'm going to feel things. Okay. But the repressed memories won't get triggered because I don't have that physical pain, because I allow myself to calm down. Now, if I do have the physical pain, I tell myself, well, it's this condition that you were diagnosed with and you're taking medication for that's going to go away. I have these real truths that I hold on to. And for my logical brain, that's good enough for me, because I understand it. I get it. But that doesn't stop the physical body responses. So when I do get triggered, my nervous system does pick up, but I have a functional motor disorder
which makes me very, very, very shaky when overstimulated. And that does, I do still feel the emotions, but my response to those emotions is so much calmer. It's like, oh, there's that lump in my throat. I'm very sad right now. I'm feeling that sadness, although I don't need to be sad right now. I'm feeling it. So then I just kind of sit with that unsettingness in your stomach. It's like, yeah, there's that feeling, there's that emotion, there's that. But I don't like get emotionally distressed. I just kind of sit with it. I accept it, and it's just like, yeah, childhood was rough. You know, I knew it was rough. I've cried about it so many times. I don't need to go back into that negative rumination of it. It's just like, yeah, this is just me dealing with it. You know, so I've gotten to a point to where mostly, not 100%, because it still can get triggered different ways, but most of the time, whenever I am triggered, like I can recognize it right away and just calm myself down, and I'll still have the shaking, I'll still feel the emotions, but it all makes sense. When I didn't know about it and it didn't make sense, that's when I was just a wreck and constantly crying and breaking down and everything. But once getting the knowledge and being able to like really see that this is truly what's happening, it's hard for you to deny. It's hard for you to deny just how real it is, you know? Uh, you sure give a few F's now. Thanks. It's hard not to feel robbed trying to normal cost my authenticity for acceptance. Um, accept things for yourself. Don't try and get acceptance from others. Like really, it's about you, right? And you need to find peace within yourself for a lot of these things, especially when dealing with trauma, because it's all stored in you. You know, it's all within you, and you got to like take care of that stuff. You can't push it down. Society says shove it down. Don't listen to society. Society also tells us to shut up about this stuff. And what, are we supposed to just be miserable the rest of our lives and sad and ruminate on the bad things? Because society also says get over it. Well, how are we supposed to get over it if we don't talk about it? And we're not allowed to, it's this circular logic. So get yourself out of that circular logic and decide, I'm going to decide for myself. You know? Um, oh man, did you end up finding your ticket? Oh yeah, people, oh my gosh. Like that's the thing is like when like that panic that happens when all of a sudden something isn't there, right? I mean, you kind of saw me earlier trying to update the Discord thing. Like I just was obsessing over it because it was kind of a little bit of panic, but not really. But it does create those like whenever you approach those situations and you got a line of people waiting behind you and things become overwhelming super fast. And then it's just panic. Good in chaos unless it's something like that, you know? Because like if it was somebody else couldn't find their ticket, right? You'd be like, let me see that. Boom, 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 boom on the phone. There you go. But since it's you, nah, good luck, you know? Or, you know, you see a friend and they need like medical attention. You need to get them to a doctor. Hey, Lauren, did it work? I hope it worked. Ah, it didn't work. My apologies. Let me get back out and get back in. Well, now it's not even responding to me. Come on. Why? Okay, well, it's being weird. My apologies. But you know how it is. Doing well. How are you, Lauren? Thank you for the heart me. Oh, now it responds. Maybe I'm just, maybe my computer can't handle the YT and the TikTok at the same time, Maybe that's it. I didn't pin you. You pinned yourself. Wait, no. Autumn pinned it. Autumn knows what's up. um let's see. I just had to walk away and it did good. It takes about half the time to rebound now. Yeah. That's some of the stuff that you got to realize too right away. Like, so when I panic and I realize right away, I just need a second, people can go by. Like that's kind of becomes a thing. Like, oh, help them for a second. I'm gonna look for it. You know. And a lot of times you think about the outcome of being maybe separated from people momentarily and all that stuff. It doesn't even matter anymore because you just avoided frantic stuff, you know? And catching up with somebody is a lot less frantic than whatever you're about to do in line, you know? I'm old, so people don't think I'm not savvy. Well, I don't know. I'm old too. Um, I don't know. I got lots of grays in my beard, but I really want them right here. Um, but no, actually, to be honest with you, like, um, my grandfather, um, was pretty tech savvy. Funny, he worked on, which was it, Apollo 11? Yeah, Apollo 11. He worked on Apollo 11, and I kind of teased him a little bit about that because I'm like, oh, so that's why, talk. So, you know, and he would deny that that's why, and he would actually say, I was one of those guys around the table when they threw all the stuff in and said, this is what you have to work with. He's like, I was around that table, and I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, sure, Grandpa. Um, but he was pretty tech savvy too. And now that's one thing to be smart in like one particular area, right? As far as computers and technology and emerging technology, new technologies and all that stuff, he always stayed on top of it. So I mean, he had like one of the first desktop computers, and that thing was super slow. He'd be in there for hours doing a simple thing. But as he got older, you know, or as technology came out, he just stayed on top of it, you know. But yeah, I get treated like I'm an old man all the time, especially by people who are just like, 3 years younger than me. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Not that I'm laughing about that, just laughing about the fact that, yep, this, it's ridiculous what people do, It's, yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, seriously? Because there's a lot of times where I even look at my past and I just laugh at just how idiotic things are. But yeah. Um, what is age when you have Red Bull? Exactly. Because it gives me wings, which is essentially what I'm going to get when I pass as well, right? So this is just helping me get my wings sooner in more ways than one. All done. Still super loving person. Where do you think that love comes from? For me, I feel like the love comes from the fact that I deeply, truly understand pain and suffering. And I feel like because I have that very profound understanding of that for myself, it makes me want to not have anybody experience that pain and suffering, you know. So, um, and some others helped me who gave me that. Yeah, that's great. So the thing that really helped me was this guy, Goober Bear. Um, I had this, and I was doing therapy with this doll before I even knew what therapy was. And after everything, I would always hold him and comfort him. Who was I really comforting? I was comforting myself, okay? But through this. And so I nurtured this. I learned how to care, learned how to love, learned how to honor right here because I knew what I needed and what I wasn't getting. And so I gave it here, really giving it to myself. And ever since I can even remember, I've wanted to be a dad. I treated this thing like it was my kid. I would put pajamas on it every night, which was just one of my blank t-shirts. Um, and I cared, you know? And so, honestly, this is what laid the foundation for me even being able to respond to the world with any kind of love based off of the things that I went through, was because I started showing myself grace very early on with this stuffed animal by holding it and taking care of it. And I mean, you can see over the years with the missing nose and the torn pockets, it's had a rough childhood as well. We were in it together, you know? Um, and it's kind of a representation of just how tattered things can be, you know? Um, and in my mind, he was real because the situations, the things I was going through, they were very real. And so for me, being able to nurture it as if it was a real child and being able to give it that hope and grace, again, giving it to myself, um, this was a very important part of my life. That's why I still have it. You know, I have another one that is um, how it used to look, like a brand new one. Um, but this is the OG. You know, um, I was a loner. I was a loner. This was my friend. I was isolated also. So like I was homeschooled, um, kindergarten through high school. I was not allowed to have friends that didn't go to our specific church or hang out with people. A lot of other stuff too. So I didn't really have much. But here's the thing: I still have this because this was always there. Even when I was older, I still had an attachment to this because, well, I'm sure for a lot of the reasons, but it was important to me. You know, stuff's off, just stifled. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that like there's so much love that can be discovered even in this turmoil, right? I found myself teaching myself real love because I think even early on, I just realized how wrong those things were because they were framed as love, you know? Thank you, Wander West. Um, yeah, but it's also looking at things that way. I could very easily be like, you're too much of a reminder. But really, this was my coping mechanism, you know? I wasn't allowed to have sleepovers, and parents were extremely strict. I could have sleepovers, but they were just with other leaders at the church, which I'm sure you could tell probably did not turn out well. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things that can be painful, but really it's what we choose to do with that pain. And since I discovered the complex PTSD and realized just how bad things were, it's all about changing it. It's all about taking those things and moving forward with it and saying, you know what, I'm not going to let this thing define me. I'm not going to pass this on to my kids. I am going to discover what real love is. I am going to have self-respect and teach myself to not only not be that way, but to ensure that there's not even a foundational part of anything that will ever lead any of my kids to think that something like this is right. Hey Liv, how's it going? Um, I wish I could try to work again, but hubby said it was too bad. Yeah. But here's the thing: we are not doing trauma dumps here. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is saying, despite all these things and the dark, dark stuff that at least I have, which I'm sure there's a lot of people who have had darker and all that, I'm just saying for me, dark stuff for me to come from. I only know my experiences, and my experiences were pretty dark for me. That even despite all that, like being able to have those memories come back, have those emotions, those repressed emotions and memories come back, and having this whole realization and unveiling of everything, really what it did was just kind of encourage me to identify. Well, it encouraged me because I was able to identify a lot of the reasons why and just realize how bad and corrupt it was. And that's like the best thing for me because it all of a sudden went from something being normal that I just had to accept to something that was wrong, something I didn't deserve, you know? Hey Jackie, how's it going? Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's like honestly, it's so freeing, you know. Um, and so that's what I do. Is despite that dark stuff, which I could think about all the time, and that did really define me in a lot of ways. It's taking back that power and saying, okay, well, I can parent myself now. I can go back and undo this stuff. And so in therapy, a lot of what I've been doing has been reparenting myself. And it's so powerful because I can talk to my inner child and say, you didn't deserve this. They were wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. And don't feel like you need to take on the burden of other people's decisions, you know? And being able to tell that to my inner child does help because all the trickle up effects of what happens when you believe that and then you get older and a lot of the foundations of things you view yourself are based on that. It is so freeing, you know, just those little things. Lots of laundry to fold. Overwhelming morning. I'm sorry, Jackie. I'm doing okay. Doing okay. Pretty good. Laundry is the worst thing in the whole world. Lots of little tasks over and over. No. Especially when you can't like. Now, here's the thing. If it was just one item, like socks, t-shirts, whatever, that's fine because you can get into a routine, just do the same thing over and over, right? And it's nothing. It's having to pick it apart. What is it? Okay, fold it this way, do this, put it somewhere else. You know, maybe that's what I should do. I'm going to start sorting things out by item. I'm going to start washing shirts separately. And then, like, maybe socks and underwear can be separate because underwear is just kind of like a, you know. And then pants separately. But then I could do, like, all of ours. Like, my kids and I's shirts, you know, and that. I'm going to try that. That is how you approach this stuff, is like new creative ideas. Imagine if that solved laundry for everyone. Yeah, no routines can be upheld until maybe you see that it works wonderfully. And I'm not saying it's going to work wonderfully, but there's definitely routines where I was like, I don't know about that. And then when you see how much it works, you're like, no, don't try it. Don't try it. Don't. I'm going to do it first because then it'll be my idea, my execution, my proof of concept being delivered. Nobody is allowed to separate their clothes by the type of clothes and then wash them. Okay? Get back to doing colors because that matters. Okay? Yeah. Folding by colors. Do that. Do that. It's so much easier to color coordinate things. No, but seriously, somebody try it and then just, you know, give me partial credit. Or you could just say, I was working off of this theory that Tim had, you know, that's good enough. But seriously, it's looking at things like that and being like, that may work, and I'll try it. I'll try it. Because actually, I color numbers, color by folding exactly. It's because like here's the thing, I hang up all my shirts. So how much easier would it be to just take everything that's there and put it on a hanger? That's like a 2-minute thing, right? And then if it's pants, you could probably like wash like what 3, 4, 5 pairs maybe. Okay, how long does it take you to do that? Like to fold those and put them away. And then socks and underwear. You know. Yeah. I'm telling you, I think I unlocked the key to getting laundry taken care of. I'm gonna make the best TikTok post. Okay, you guys? Reserve it for me. So 16 of you in here right now. I see every single one of you. You even have a friend of a friend who posts something like this. I'm coming for you. I appreciate you, Liv. Thank you so much for popping in. I really appreciate that. Socks are the worst. Unless you have the same kind of sock across the board, which is what I do. I have short socks and long socks. That's it. But they're all black. They're all the same kind. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, it's gonna work. Okay, well, that's it. Just set boundaries. Set boundaries, Jackie, or just do your own stuff. But that's sabotage in the most purest form. I also don't sort my laundry. Never have. Never had an issue. Well, that's great. If you don't have an issue, perfect. I have issues with laundry. I have a laundry room that's full of clean laundry, unfolded, scattered, and every day that's my dresser, you know? But yeah. Or Jackie, here's an idea. Just say, hey, you know what? Um, I've noticed that you've been getting new socks and stuff, and I'm just, I'll pick them up for you from now on, so that you don't have to go and do all that and everything. You know, perfect. Sounds so serving towards somebody else, and really, what you're doing is saying, this is mine. You stay out of my job, stay out of my thing that I'm doing. Okay, get out of the kitchen in a sense, essentially. Like too many cooks in the kitchen, too many socks in the drawer, right? Come on, this is it. Um, whew. Well, you let me know. You let me know if you need something phrased, because so um, communication issues are a thing for me, but professionally, I've had to specifically find ways to word things that do not trigger certain emotions and take care of certain things, because I worked in support, but providing support over social media. And so that's kind of also, I guess, probably why a lot of this is a little easier for me. But professionally, I built teams that would do support like over Twitter or Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And it was very important, the word usage, especially on Twitter, when you had little limits of characters that you could put in. And so it's like every word is mindful. What are you trying to trigger? What kind of emotion are you trying to instill in the other person, while also what kind of message are you trying to communicate? So I got that. I got that superpower too. Not always verbally, but can often find it. Yeah, I get it, Jackie. Um, and a lot of it is about kind of like assuming, knowing it's likely going to be some kind of attack or misunderstanding or something. So how can you phrase it to make it so neutral, you know? And how can you even introduce some flattery, a little mild so it's not suspicious, but something that makes it a benefit? It's just a mild benefit, but not suspicious. Yeah. Clear communication, though, also takes willingness on both ends, you know, and that's something that's very, 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 very important. If you don't have those skills to be able to discuss things properly, it doesn't matter what one person says, the other person can derail the whole thing. So, oftentimes you kind of have to approach things with a certain level of sensitivity, knowing who you're approaching, to be able to not necessarily manipulate, but just avoid triggers, you know? Because especially when you realize what triggers people, sometimes it's everything triggers people. And so then if it is everything triggers people, then it's like, okay, how do I approach this so that absolutely there will be no nuance that makes it open to be able to having things go off the rails. Yesterday I wanted to not be with people, but we went to the store. Then I say my college advisor too. Um, does it sound like wanting to not be with people? Um, so just so you know, there's so much wrong with that logic. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I knew exactly where this was going, because the logic is wrong, and the wrong blame, you know? So, Jackie, you are not wrong. Um, you know, It's up to you whether or not you want to tell them I said that. But you're not wrong. That I don't want to say too much, but I don't like that. That's all I'll say. It's manipulation. I just don't like that coming from somebody who's been through that. Now I'm starting to rub my neck because it's starting to like it bothers me. It bothers me when people do stuff like that. Like, how can we live authentically and be authentic with each other when we get things like this that don't accept us for the things that we have to do, you know? Oh, no, 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 no. It's not a trigger thing. Like, literally, it's not like that. It's not like a memory trigger. I get so worked up about this. And when I get worked up about it, like, I feel it, you know? But yeah, the mean streak can be so real. Yeah, you know? And yeah, it's not like you don't contextually bring in everything else whenever you talk to people. Like, no, it's a progression of continuous communication, right? And so it doesn't even matter if it's a streak or not. It's your present. It's always a current present, you know, and how you're going into that present moment. But ultimately, regardless if anyone understands the details or the nuances of things, when somebody says I need, the other person needs to support it, you know, unless it's something that's, you know, bad, right? You don't need to support that, but need to go talk to somebody about something. Yeah, there's I'm sorry, Jackie. That's rough. But like Aaron said, feel validated, because there's there's no universe where that scenario is your fault. Okay? There's no scenario where this could be at all anything that you should be burdened with or upset about or anything. It's very clear cut. Okay? It just is. And I'm not even saying that like with any kind of bias. Like, it's just logic. That logic is not there. You have to talk to people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't isolate too much. I mean, you can text me, you know, or you can call if you need to. But yeah. Is that really the way that it is, or is that kind of founded mainly just on your interactions with just certain people? Because those interactions with certain people can make us feel like this is everyone, because we assume it's us that's the problem, right? So then it affects everyone. But if it's not you're the problem, then does it really affect everyone? You know? Sometimes we could be happy on our own, but so much pain before that moment. Yeah. Andrea, I'm going through a divorce right now. It's like the last month of it. Um, and what gets hard is when you realize that it would be better to be alone, especially when it has to do with you sticking up for yourself, you know? Like once I said to his stepdad, just said yeah instead of yes. Like, that's just picking apart. Jackie, I understand, especially, you know, when it comes to BPD, because there's so many different sort of whirlwinds of things, right, that come with that. But think of some of the stuff that, you know, like checking the facts, right? Putting thoughts on trial, all that kind of junk, right? All those things promote is really the internal realization of where do these things come from, right? I do not think that somebody else's actions towards you is warranted by anything that you do, because it's also up to the other person to regulate. It's also up to the other person to do this. And you are having the mindset of it could be me because it's my BPD is saying I have self-awareness. Okay? Enough self-awareness to know that if you were to respond in a particular way, you'd probably recognize it and be like, I shouldn't have done that. And then you'd probably own up to it, right? Or would you just not apologize even though you felt like apologizing? And if you didn't feel comfortable apologizing, whose fault is that? Because maybe you've apologized beforehand and it wasn't received well. You know, there's a lot of, yeah, I'm not even like arguing for you. Like, this is just so like not the fault of the person that is on the end that you're in. I found out at 49, 39, 44 now, and it's changed me for the better too. Yeah. So for me, it was the realization that I'm not a complete failure, loser, stupid person, but that I had struggles that I wasn't going to be able to solve anyway. And now I have tools and resources and things available to me that can help. What was your reason? My anxiety has been much better. Yeah. I would say I was sorry and it was out of character, but that's not super. Well, see, there you go. I get it, Jackie. I texted him the other day. He hasn't texted back. I hope he's okay. Well, Jackie, I kind of am too. But that also shows that maybe that's the kind of, well, I wouldn't say the kind of reaction that you should have, but you should at least see that it's showing that, you know, you should be. I guess mad, how you respond to being mad is one thing, but I'd be upset. Now, how I'd respond to that would be differently, but I would be upset about it. So I am. Kind of feel like you should be too, but should, whatever's subjective. You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know though, to a certain degree. Okay, weird question, but new to lives. How do I like? So depending on the device, you can tap on any kind of like open area. Like, so if you were to tap like right here, or double tap, and you keep tapping or whatever, that would be sending likes. Or there might be like a heart button somewhere and you could push that. But yeah, tappity tap, tap, tap. And actually, I think I can tap. I think if I do this, actually, no, I think it has to be a mod. Jackie, do exclamation point tap. If you want to. See, look at that. Look at that. Triggering the good stuff. You do, am I doing it the right way? You do that. Doesn't it feel good to have power? Though you can't do the police thing right now because nobody can, but yeah. Yeah, I asked for help when young, but I was told nothing was wrong. David, I was told to try harder. And so then I did. And honestly, no, it's not, Jackie, not abusing power. It's just like sometimes people will rush to that too quickly before I can talk with them. And so then it'll just kind of push them away further. But even today, I had somebody come in who was a troll who ended up following me and ended up actually listening and understanding and even relating. So it was really cool. But yeah, I was told to try harder, and that ended up being the foundation, David, for what led to my burnout, because I was conditioned to believe it was a me problem and that I wasn't trying hard enough. Especially since that was the recurring answer that I got. But if you guys do want to see the police thing, I can turn it on, and then you can do it if you want. So this is whenever people get mad and say you're not autistic, or where's your diagnosis, all that stuff. So if you do exclamation point police now, Jackie, it'll trigger. Well, hopefully, I don't know, it might be broken. Hopefully it's not broken, but I don't know. Won't know until we test it. So one person talked. Yeah. Yes, of course. Oh yeah. No, that wasn't an issue.
Hold
Is
it
the
right
sound
there.
working?
You can't be
No.
talking about
There
this
we go.
stuff. I'm going to need to see your diagnosis.
Good, it did work. Sound lagged for me too. That's why I thought it wasn't working. Um, but yeah, it's funny. It's funny for me. Okay, I don't care if it's not funny for anyone else because it's funny for me. It makes me haha. Definitely within myself. Okay, and there's 3 different versions of it too. So it randomizes them depending on it. But so I'll turn it back off now too. So I allow mods to do that. But really it's like kind of if it gets to a point to where like they are so like, you know, um, um, unreasonable, then I'll play that for them because really that's kind of like the last thing of being like, well, you're just being ridiculous. Go to the doctor the next time you have a headache and then tell me that self-diagnosis is bad. Because there are self-diagnosis things that I need, like autism. Do you think I want an official autism diagnosis? By the way, I live in the U.S. and RFK is in charge of whatever crap he's in charge of. Like I stopped paying attention to a lot of that stuff, but I have been paying attention to what's been said, is even as recent as yesterday. So, yeah, I don't want an official diagnosis, but I do need to understand what's going on for myself so that I can be living the way I should be living, and understand the concepts of things that I need to approach things so that I can be less stressed. So, yeah, self-diagnosis for that. Yeah, cool. ADHD, need medication? Okay, yeah. Talk with a professional. Get evaluated or diagnosed, whatever, you know. Um, but yeah, I love how like you don't look neurodivergent. Well, neurodivergent people can spoil me from a mile away. Oh, really? Neurotypical like you don't look neurodivergent, while neurodivergent people can, yeah, okay, yeah, spot you a mile away. And it is like the gator. Yeah, you know what? That's so real. Um, there have been people that I have followed on TikTok because I came across them and I was like, oh, definitely, and so I'll just follow. Um, and yeah, eventually later on down the road, see them on lives and they're talking about their neurodivergence, and it's like, I knew it, but that's also why I wanted to support you because you're doing amazing things on here. Um, oh my gosh, PDA, pathological demand avoidance. Um, yeah, whenever somebody like it's like you want to do something, and then as soon as somebody tells you that to do it, for me, it's not necessarily that I don't want to do it. It's that now there's so much expectation that like, oh, I have to get it done. It wasn't just a thing that I wanted to do. But oh, why did you say that? Because now there's so much pressure. So then I don't want to do it because that conditions that, hey, I'm going to tell you to do something that I already know you're going to do. And so it also conditions the, you know, just sort of that reaction. And so then for me, it just gets into that shutdown. Yeah, but it's not control. And that's the weird thing is like it's not control, but it feels like it. It feels so much like you're being controlled, which then kind of also pushes some kind of like resistance. Be overprotective and less people would pass back in the day. Um, wait, hold on. Did you know that due to evolution, 30% of the population is supposed to have anxiety? I watched a huge documentary on it. It's interesting. If you have anxiety, it's so you would be overprotective and less people pass. Yeah, I mean, well, having anxiety is a human trait, right? Having a high level of anxiety does make you a little bit more hyper aware and make you a little bit more protective. I mean, that's where protective personalities come from. How can you be protective without a bit more anxiety, right? That's what makes that. But that doesn't make the anxiety bad. It just means you want to be a little bit more attentive, right? And so, yeah. And the neurodivergence could definitely increase how the anxiety feels. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to go. I got to do some stuff before I pick up my kids from school. Unfortunately, it's having to write things to my lawyer, my divorce lawyer. But yeah, am I close to God? My parents were. They read this book. So if you feel like that would be the answer, let me know within the context of the focus on the family guy, if this is really the solution that I should be going for. I like that there was a big G and a little g. Yeah. Because it's kind of an important thing to note too, is that there's all different kinds of people, you know, all different kinds of things that are there. God bless me. Hopefully he doesn't bless me this way, but the author of Focus on the Family, rest in peace, told my parents to bless me. Look it up and then tell me that this is okay, by Dr. James Dobson. But yeah, just get back to me. You know, unless you're too scared to acknowledge and understand your faith. Everyone else, thank you so much. Everyone else, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate all of you. If you want to join my Discord, I'm going to get the link fixed up. Again, I'm going to have all the comments there, so if you drop your Discord username, I can add you. I also go live 6 a.m. most days. And yeah, he definitely is. Hopefully the devil read that book too, because then it can just be like, oh, here's the info. Actually, I'm pretty sure he did. Pretty sure he helped author it. Anyway, if you know, within the dogma. Anyways, thank you all so much. I really appreciate all of you. Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I'll be on. I may be on live later on tonight. I'm gonna try and make sure I get a good enough sleep. But thank you all so much. Yeah, Aaron, absolutely. Yeah, forgot to take your meds. Awesome. I forgot to take mine too. So my forgetting reminded, or me, you being reminded that you forgot them reminded me that I forgot them, even though you were reminded by me. So awesome. See, we need community. We need community. Mental illnesses are demons you can remove. You know what? Tell me that this isn't a demon right here. Go and read this book, okay? But until then, I don't think you have authority on it. Seriously, if you really do believe your faith and focus on the family, of course, is important, you need to look into your faith, right? Because you read the Bible. And so, of course, you read the Bible, right? So if you read the Bible and you respect focus on the family, again, that's just a fellow man. Okay, absolutely it is. And that's the thing. That's the thing, is that it is just a fellow man. But how many people within that religion revere this guy as being like the guy? I mean, come on, focus on the family, right? I grew up in this. I know focus on the family is everywhere. Okay, so yeah. But mental illnesses are not demons. That kind of stuff is the kind of rhetoric that created this book. So you are just a fellow man as well that's misinformed just as much as this guy. Okay? But yeah. Bless you back with a block. Anyway, that's it. Sorry. That's a stigma that I don't really care to convince people about, because they are definitely on a different level. But besides that, thank you guys so much. Oh my gosh, did it block? I hope it did. Anyway, appreciate all of you. Most of you, except for that person. Now it's blocked. Okay. Love you guys so much, except for that person. And appreciate all of you, except for that person. Even the other trolls that came in. But yeah, I will talk to you all soon. Take care. And I'll see you likely later on tonight. So yeah, take care. Bye, everyone.